when we were approached with this, this concept, we came up with not just about design, but what motivates design. What is the impetus of design? And when we came up with this title, I have to say, impetus is not a word that I use in my daily vocabulary. I thought about what it meant. We were thinking about all the synonyms for it, and catalyst came up, and motivator came up. Motivator you'll see throughout the theme of this, but impetus actually really says it best. What is the impetus of design? What drives design? And I'm going to just put on my glasses. And again, what motivates us? As architects, many of us in this room all know the value of design, whether it be our environment, our cities, our streets, the layout of our parks, the buildings in which we live and work, the clothes and shoes that we wear, the technology that we carry in our pockets or in our laps, are all products of design. But what's behind the process? Many of us are motivated by the desire to improve our physical environment. This is accomplished by considering many factors, not the least of which is what we think is pleasing to the eye, or what's pleasing to our own eye. As architects, we typically marry the function or the owner's intended use of a space or a building, a program. We marry that with aesthetics, and that's what we do to create or to design. But design to me is defined best, this definition describes it best to me. Design is the process of finding the most elegant solution to the question, how do I? How do I lay out a city for our nation's capital, our nation's seat of government? How do I create a device that will change the way we communicate, change the way we live, change the way we give lectures? How do I make an impact while walking away? This is one of my favorites. How do I build a structure that beautifully illustrates an industry? This is one of my favorite buildings in the city of Chicago, the Inland Steel Building. What motivates architectural design? What's behind the process for architecture? The purpose of this presentation is to illustrate just a few of the examples of the motivators listed here. And as you can see, there are plenty. But of all the motivators listed here, one thing's for sure, and that we can count on, that good design adds value much faster than it adds cost. So let's take a look at a few examples. Let's first start with aesthetic. Aesthetic design, basically design for design's sake. So the question, how do I get from here to there? Well, you take the stairs. And as you can see by these examples, the stairs are not just ordinary stairs. They're pretty special stairs using materials and methods that are not common, but they're definitely an elegant solution to each of these situations. Whether it be an apartment building in Barcelona or a center for design in Toronto, each architect here was at total liberty to express their vision for the client's function. Utilitarian motivation. This one is pure function, and it sometimes does trump design, but this is what motivates us on a daily basis. And clearly, function won out over design in these two examples. But we all have clients that require the most simple solution, and sometimes that solution is just what is required and nothing more. Motivating by branding, trying to establish a corporate brand for a client. Is there anyone here who does not recognize this building? Even without the logo, it's easily recognizable as an Apple store. The iconic structural glazing, the glass stair treads, all of these are thoughtful elements that help define and reinforce a brand that values the aesthetic of their product as much as the innovative functionality of their devices. Not only does the architecture enhance the visitor's experience, but it gives an indication of what's to come once inside. The materials that are used in the buildings and the finishes are the same materials that you'll find in their products. The glass, the stainless steel, the aluminum are all throughout the process of your experience, definitely reinforcing the brand. What I found fascinating about Apple is that most online retailers today of technology are closing. They're closing their brick and mortar stores. But Apple has 364 stores to date worldwide and counting. And clearly, they're supported by reinforcing their technology and using design to do so both externally and internally. Louis Vuitton, one of my favorite designers, is also a retailer that's accomplishing the same feat. And they're doing that by commissioning architects worldwide to create their brand, which uses the famous LV logo and their 4-petal stamp in all of their finishes, inside and out. Interpretive design. This one is another motivator for us. Nature is probably one of our biggest motivators of design. A pattern of a leaf, the way the wind affects water or a body of water, the striations of our Earth's history. All of those are motivators for design, as you can see here in these examples. One of those is on the south side of Chicago, that would be your right. Yes, you're right. All of these can inspire in one way or the other, and it's very easy to see the direct translation of these inspirations. Artistic design. This one I think I like to call impactful because these are statement-driven, abstract, really designed to make a statement. We're familiar with the definition of abstract as it relates to the creative process. Art that does not attempt to represent recognizable reality, but seeks to achieve its effect by using shapes, colors, texture, forms, a degree of independence from physical references. And as you can see here, the designer's full artistic license in each of these examples creates a visual impact that seemingly trumps the owner's function. Symbolic design. This is one of my favorite examples. Is there anyone in this room who does not know what television snow is? Anybody? So I guess everybody here remembers the days when networks actually went off the air. They went off the air in the wee hours of the night, and sometimes, or I should say wee hours of the morning, sometimes not so wee, and basically letting you know it was time for you to go to bed. But no matter what these images are used for today, they still evoke thoughts of visual communication of media. And it seems on the surface that these are the easiest motivators, direct relation or direct translation. These are the easiest ones to interpret, but it still takes a literal translation, and it still takes, a thoughtful design process to execute a client's function with just enough visual cues to represent its intended use. And here's one of my favorite examples. This is Jeannie Gang's project for, I apologize, I hit it too soon, for communication for Columbia College. And as you can see, it's a direct translation using the barcodes of the media image directly as glazing, the colors of the glazing in her facade. Also using graphic design, the strong graphic elements in the interior to reinforce its intended use. And that cross-disciplinary or interdisciplinary design using architecture and graphic design, bless you, and industrial design are all things that inspire us. They're all things that we do on a daily basis. I want to point out very quickly when Jeff asked everyone to raise their hands about each thing that they did, I would imagine that many of you raised your hands twice or multiple times. And this kind of supports this effort. We all do things that reach out into other professions, or we make use of other professions, but it's all tied together. Another discipline that is commonly tied to architecture is industrial design. And Frank Lloyd Wright and Mies van der Rohe were definitely expert at this, really striving to design not just the exterior of their structures, but interior as well, down to the furnishings. Just another example here. And Paul Rand, an American modernist, has a great definition, or his idea of what design is, and I'll let you read it here, but I think it's apropos to this, not just to this presentation, but to Chicago Ideas Week in general. This next motivator I singled out because it's to highlight not only a specific need, but I believe it's what architects do on a daily basis. We are in the business of providing solutions to our clients, to their specific challenges, and we do that every day. That's what we do. I always say we provide answers to your questions, to the client's question. In this case, we'll take a look at a solution that inspired the process of design for the visually impaired. I didn't realize this, but only 10% of the blind can actually read Braille. Did anyone here know that? I was completely unaware of that. And that means that the signage that we're required to place in our buildings through municipal codes or facilities departments is basically ineffective. Well, that was a challenge. That fact was a challenge to a company called Coco Rains Associates that actually changed the wayfinding process to better serve the visually impaired. They actually did a floor plan and raised those images, and you could actually follow along with the raised pellets of the floor plan along a tactile floor that used raised dots. And this is rethinking Braille. And this is another issue, another way that design inspires, or the motivators inspire design. And then reverse engineering. I also didn't realize that a lot of technically blind people can still see shapes, colors, and large objects, and large objects and light, some light. We can use that process here with the light blocks in the floor or the large shapes to guide a person, a visually impaired person, along their path of circulation. But what if? What if we can take existing technology, radio frequency ID badges, and marry that with an existing product that's out right now, and it's a carpet that uses LED lights embedded in the carpet strictly for design's sake, or strictly for aesthetics. But we could marry that technology with the RFID badges and have that sense a user with the badge coming down a corridor, and it could highlight the path so that they can see their way to their destination. That's the higher use that we are striving for. I see that my time is getting limited, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Optimistic design, this is our last motivator. And I know it may seem odd to use the word optimistic with the image of a drive-by shooting, but what if we could use design to prevent the tragedies that daily grace our news images? And the senseless violence where there are victims that are unintended. What if we use design to save lives? A bullet's trajectory, as you can see here, unimpeded, will usually hit its target. What if we used architecture and design to prevent a bullet from hitting someone in high-risk areas? It's a simple concept, but how can we implement this? What if we use design to disrupt the trajectory in open spaces, in high-risk areas, in our urban environments? The clicker. Here's an open space, and then we introduce something as simple as a direct blockade, but we translate that into a barrier that's hidden behind greenery. We translate that into planters that we see every day in our urban environments. We translate that into amenities in parks, into new materials, ballistic materials that can be transformed into art in public spaces, not knowing that this beautiful piece of structure in both cases can actually save a life. And it also beautifies an area in neighborhoods that typically don't get design amenities as these. And again, we establish all of these systems. We marry municipalities with public safety, with architects and designers to create a system that would work to not only physically disrupt the bullet's ballistics, or the bullet's trajectory, but it also could create a warning system where people would know to take cover. This would be the highest form of design. These typical planters that are otherwise beautiful, it's subjective, but you could actually duck behind them if a siren goes off. In school zones, especially in school zone, these pocket parks, they are beautiful in design, yet their design, their different grades, their elements and amenities would stop bullets, but on non-emergency situations, they would just be a wonderful place for kids to gather. So that would be the highest human purpose imaginable, to save a life. And we'll just go quickly through these slides because I'm at 0. So design does make a difference, especially good design. And I'm just going to wrap that up very quickly. My clicker is not as fast as I am. And ideas are the foundation of good design. And I just want to thank you, but I also want to make sure I thank LeVar Horde. He is our business strategist, our marketing strategist for the firm. He's also the one behind a lot of the ideas here. And we are so lucky to have him. We just recently added him to our staff, and we're trying to do that. We want to merge other disciplines, and we're doing that by bringing LeVar on, because architecture can't be done in a vacuum, design can't be done in a vacuum. But I just wanted to thank you for your time, and I apologize for my reading glasses, but thank you.